The great generational shift is underway in America. What I'm talking about is the post-baby boomer shift that all the demographers and futurists were telling us was coming for generations. And while we're talking about the size of the workforce, what's really important is we're at a place in history where there's going to be an epic change in the norms and the values within the workplace. You see, you've got this huge generation of baby boomers that are beginning to exit the workplace, and they're being backfilled by millennials who are younger. They see the world very differently. And this is going to change the way businesses relate between the employer and the employee. It's going to change that dynamic. It's going to affect every single strata of industry, every employee, no matter what their age, and it's really going to affect the management at all levels. When you're thinking about the shift, we've got this group of baby boomers, the leading edge baby boomers, the early ones, that are slowly working their way toward retirement. And if you think about this, we've been hearing, everybody in the room has been hearing for years now, that there are 10,000 baby boomers a day that turn 65. The key is that they put off retirement through the economic unpleasantness that we experienced. And now we have about 12,000 baby boomers a day going into retirement. The shift is happening quickly now. It's gaining velocity every single day. So that changes things drastically. What's really important here is as we look at all the different generations, each one of them sees the world very differently. They all have their generational biases, and each one of them sees the world through a different lens. These generations, the products they buy, the way the service is delivered, the politics that they observe and practice, the religion that they practice themselves, and also their careers, all are defined by the generation they came from. And if you look at this, the largest generation that we had ever had in America at one time was the baby boomers. 80 million baby boomers. There they are. And as they start to retire, there's a smaller generation of Gen Xers in the middle that are taking over the leadership positions. And then you have this massive amount of millennials, 85 million, now the largest generation in all of America. They come in with a whole different look and a whole different feel. If you look at the chart here, you'll see at the end of December of 2016, 40% of all the workers in America are baby boomers. 32% are the Gen Xers, and 23% are millennials. But let's project out to the year 2020. And so let's say it's June 2020, and we're standing here looking at this. What do you have? You've got 50% of the workforce is now millennials. And let me even give you something even scarier. Because what we begin to see is by the year 2025, 75% of the workforce is millennials. You think that's not going to change the workplace? We also have other things going. iGens, the youngest of all the generations, will be graduating from college in 2020. They'll be knocking on the door looking for a job. The shift is to a younger generation. And as the baby boomers leave, the brain drain is happening. Institutional wisdom is walking out the door. And we also have those upside-down hierarchies where a younger worker is assigned to manage older workers, and it creates conflict and resentment in the workplace. Things change. Now, what's really important here is all these different generations, the ones that are taking over the management team are the Gen Xers. And they were called the slacker generation, but they're there, they've served their time, and they're easing their way. They've got middle management covered. They're easing their way into the C-suite, and now they're running the show. The millennials have been in the job, but who's been running the companies are the baby boomers and those Gen Xers. They haven't given a seat to the millennials yet. But when you become 75% of the workforce, you can demand a seat at the table, and you can demand that I'm going to be in a leadership position in this company, because that's what you're going to have to do. So as we go through this, the shift and the things you have to have in mind are you ready for this? We know that the chief complaints, because millennials shift and go from job to job, are they're underutilized, they're very well educated, but they've been parked in jobs that they feel they're much more qualified to do other things. And number two, they're not being groomed for leadership. So what do you need to do to prepare for the shift? Here's what I would tell you about your company, what you should be doing. Number one, determine the generational shift and how it's going to play out in your immediate plans and in your long-term plans. Number two, reevaluate your benefits and incentives, because what worked for one generation doesn't work for another. Things that the benefits that work for a baby boomer won't mean anything for a millennial. Number three, get your management team ready for the shift and get them in line with it so they can execute it. Work to understand all generations and the value they bring. When those IGNs start knocking on the door, they have great value as well. Bring everyone to the table. And last but not least, prepare to protect and harvest the intellectual wisdom that your baby boomers have. When somebody has spent 25 to 30 years in a company and they walk out the door, you don't want to be reinventing the wheel while everybody else is rolling down the highway. Thank you very much.